My name is Samantha.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Wataru. This is a co-ed group run for college students experiencing social anxiety in a university setting as a part of the university's Mental Health Center of Actions. It is a support group that runs for 13 sessions in a closed group format. Ideally, the group would have 6 members and 1 group leader. Members are recruited through an all-campus email as well as flyers, and only those who committed themselves to complete the whole sessions are accepted.
The purpose of the group for the facilitator is to get an idea of how group members handle their anxiety in order to adequately plan for future sessions. And the purpose of the group for group members is to begin reflecting on how they handle their anxiety, being exposed to the coping styles of other group members, and experiencing low-level exposure therapy. We chose this curriculum and intervention type because it has been proven to be effective with a range of populations and severity of social anxiety.
In our case study, there are 4 women and 2 men in the group, 2 of whom handle their anxiety through extroverted behaviors, 2 who handle it through introverted behaviors, and 2 who don't know how to cope with their anxiety. The group is in its first official session, following a pre-group session in which group members were able to get to know one another and engage in some icebreakers in an effort to reduce the felt anxiety of experiencing a new experience of being in a group. So without further ado, we're going to demonstrate one of our activities, the social situation. Hi guys, I'm so glad you're back. It was great to interact with you guys last time during our pre-group session, and I hope that our session today and the sessions that continue onward after this will really help you guys learn some new skills to use in handling some social anxiety. So first we're going to go through a little situation and we're going to walk through some different mindfulness practices that we can apply to that anxious situation. So mindfulness is paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. It helps us cope with our anxiety because it helps us create a control tower over our emotional states. It helps create space between us and our emotions so that we can observe that, we can see the feelings and thoughts that are associated with that, and then instead of fighting against those anxious feelings, which usually makes us feel more anxious, we can acknowledge it, accept it, and then move to coping with it, and how do we use some skills to reduce that anxiety. Mindfulness also helps us stay present rather than following that crazy train of thought wherever it goes off to. Mindfulness keeps us grounded in the present moment and what's going on, the interactions happening around us. So here's our scenario. Imagine that you're at a party where there's someone you would really like to meet. It could be a coworker, a neighbor, someone you're attracted to, or someone you really respect. Imagine you notice that person standing alone by the food table, looking lost, and you decide to go over and make small talk with them. Now, is there anyone here who wouldn't have any anxiety in that specific situation?
Not me.
Okay, good. We can continue on. So first, let's think about what physical sensations we might experience at the party, and which sensations would bother you the most.
I would say sweating and twitching.
Okay.
For me, it's like a jittery feeling in my belly. Jitteriness.
Okay. Would you say, Samantha, that sweating might bother you?
Yes.
Like you've noticed it and feel?
My hands get clammy and I feel like people might notice that I'm sweating maybe.
Okay. All right, so that brings us to looking at our self-image. So you said people might notice that I'm sweating. So as you guys might know, self-image is the visual picture of how you imagine other people are perceiving you. It might be how you appear when you first arrive, when you're approaching the person you want to talk to, or when you're actually talking to them. So think for a second, and if you guys want to, share what that image of yourself is with us in this situation.
Well, For me, I'll be afraid of appearing very crude, uneducated, uncultured, unsophisticated person.
I guess my main concern with self-image would be feeling, I don't know, that person's just noticing all those physical sensations of like sweating and like noticing me twitching or like my voice cracking.
Okay. Alright, so with that self-image, let's look at the thoughts. So we're going to look at the thoughts that occur before, during, and after the social situation. When they happen before, we call them anticipatory thoughts. And these are usually when we predict what might go wrong in the situation and how bad it's going to be. Thoughts that happen during usually take the form of us mind reading what we think the other person is thinking about us that's negative. So, for example, that would be, oh, they probably think I have really bad breath, or I have such horrible acne, oh my goodness. They didn't want to talk to me, they didn't want to be around me. And then thoughts that happen after the situation we call post-mortem. And those are usually what we thought went wrong in the situation. So we critically analyze our performance in that situation. Can you guys give an example of a thought that might occur during that situation?
Okay, well, I'll go first. For anticipatory thoughts, I would assume that I will be awkward, I feel uncomfortable, and therefore I will not enjoy that party. So that's my thoughts.
Okay.
In the past, I've noticed in terms of thoughts that I tend not to focus on the conversation. I'm more focused on how I'm being perceived by that person than what that person is actually saying. So just not being attentive to what they're saying.
Okay. And being caught up in your head might make you not so present, right?
Right.
Okay. Wataru, you mentioned that you would feel really awkward and not really want to be in that situation. So how would you handle that feeling awkward?
I don't know. I'll just accept it. I don't know. There's not much I can do, but I try not to call too much attention to myself, probably.
Okay. What I was trying to hint at was control strategies. So like you said, accepting it, that's one way to control the anxiety that we feel, is just to accept I'm feeling pretty anxious right now. And that's actually a really great way to handle it, is just to say, okay, this is how it is. It's okay. We can move forward with it. Another way would be to avoid it altogether. So I'm surprised you didn't say, I just wouldn't go to the party because I don't want to be anxious.
That's an option.
It may be an option, but it's not the option we want to utilize. So that's part of what we're going to work on while we're in this group over the next 8 or 9 sessions that we have together, is how can we handle our anxiety in a way that's more positive than not going to the party. Because that's an option, but it's not the option that I want for you guys. I want you guys to be able to go and enjoy the party. So let's close out with a little discussion. How was that activity for you guys? Did it stir up anything? Bring any past situations to mind?
Brought past situations to mind where I've been at parties and been in those situations where I'm just so anxious about myself and how I'm being perceived than actually listening to the person that's talking to me. And I just try to avoid all of that.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. This exercise brought me back to the experience of meeting new important people, the people who might be judging me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
All right. Can you guys come up with a goal for yourselves to do before the next session? So one way you can handle your anxiety.
I'm sorry, do we have no homework?
It's a good question. This is our first official session. So the only homework for next week is just to practice some of the mindfulness exercises we've gone over today.
Okay.
Just to, when you feel anxious, just pull out one of those strategies and just practice it. So it might just be thinking about, what are the physical sensations I'm feeling right now? And just really assess that in your mind. And that's all.
Okay.
That's all you need to do. Samantha, do you have a goal?
I guess my goal would be like going up to a stranger and making that small talk and trying to be attentive to what they're saying and less worried about how I'm being perceived by them.
I think that's a great goal, and it's a really low risk strategy because you don't know that person, so you don't have anything to lose.
Right.
You don't have to worry about being judged by them. I think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Tyra, what about you?
Well, if I was in that kind of situation, I'll try to pay more attention to the conversation instead of judging my own anxiousness and worrying about the anxiousness. Adding more negative feeling to it, I just try to focus on the conversation.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you guys for coming. I hope you have a great week until I get to see you next time.
Thank you.
So that was our activity. Now we're going to provide a little analysis of this curriculum and this activity specifically. So Samantha, what are some pros of using this activity?
I would say some of the pros with this activity are that it is a good icebreaker activity. There's low risk involved. It increases both the member and facilitator awareness of where the group is at in terms of anxiety, and it's a good way of practicing mindfulness through writing down your thoughts and feelings, etc.
Wataru, what are some cons of using this activity?
Okay. Some of the cons might involve honesty, how much risk taking the participants are willing to take. Maybe they will not feel comfortable sharing their real thoughts, especially in the presence of opposite sex. This is a co-ed group, right? So we might have that issue of honesty. Another thing I thought of that is some people might find this particular exercise, they can't relate to this particular subject.
That's a good point.
They may not respond well to. Some people may not be interested in going to party at all.
So 3 challenges that group members may encounter during this group include having someone fill that member leader role, giving and receiving constructive feedback, and anxiety related to being in a co-ed group.
3 challenges the facilitator might encounter are the lack of a member leader, like Samantha said. How are they going to give members constructive feedback without them feeling shut down? How to gauge when to push a member versus not. And additionally, the facilitator must be very attentive to validate every small risk that the members take, because it's really important, especially with anxiety, that they feel encouraged and accepted right where they're at with whatever contribution they're bringing.
Diversity issues. So this group is defined as co-ed group. Because of that, members of the LGBTQ community may not feel totally comfortable to attend this group or participate. Also, some participants might feel uncomfortable about being honest about their implicit bias against other race.
Well, that's our analysis on the Act On Social Anxiety curriculum. We hope you found it helpful and that you'll consider using it with your groups. Thank you.